let's move on. And guys, this is probably the highlight of the day, of this event, at least today. So we're gonna continue with a hands-on workshop, where we will try to put everything we've talked about today into practice by analyzing the email templates some of you have submitted before the event. I'm thrilled to welcome Collin Mitchell, VP of Sales at Leadium. He's joining me. He's joined me already. So hi, Collin. Welcome.
Hey, George, how you doing?
I'm good. Good. Thanks for taking the time for this. Yeah, I guess the floor is yours. Feel free to start.
Yeah, awesome. Will we have any time for questions at the end?
Let me see. Yeah. I would say, yeah, we're here until the top of the hour. So if you finish a little bit earlier, we will be able to cover some questions.
Okay, fantastic. All right, thank you. Yeah, so thanks for having me. Always love doing events with Reply. Always great panel of people on these events. My name is Collin Mitchell. I am the VP of Sales and Managing Partner over at Leadium. So we help companies with outbound. So we do outbound as a service. We've worked with over 1,000 different companies across campaigns. So we've seen lots of success in helping these companies with their outbound and the things that have changed with email, over the years. Leadium has been doing this for over 10 years. So today I'm going to go through 4 different emails that were submitted. I'm going to show you the original version of that email, and then we're going to go through a bit of a teardown in different sections of those email, and then I'm going to share a rewrite that I wrote as well for each of those emails. All right. So the first email, here is the original email. Hi, first name. I hope this email finds you well. It's my personal favorite opening line. No, I'm just kidding. My name is Rupali Salia, and I am the co-founder of Full.io. We have developed a new sales performance technology that helps your brokerage stand out amongst your competitors. I would love to connect with you to share how agents at your brokerage can use Full Fuel to deliver unmatched buying experience for their clients. Are you available for a quick call next week? Looking forward to the opportunity to discuss further. All right, so let's break down some issues that I found, particularly with this email. Hope this email finds you well is probably one of the worst opening lines. If that's an opening line that you're using, please just stop. It is like the first indication that this is, a bad email. George, what's your thoughts on the, I hope this email finds you well?
Well, I can I can talk a lot about those standard introductions. Just wanted to quickly jump in, Collin.
Yeah.
We're not seeing your screen. It would be great to.
Oh, geez.
Right.
All right. What happened there? All right. So I thought let me try to share it again. Give me a second here. All right. So let's try it again. Can you see it? Now there it is. Beautiful. Okay. So let's go back to the original email for a second. All right. So here's the original email, which I already read, but we'll take a second to just look at that. And then we're going to go into the teardown. So hope this email finds you well. Not a good opener. Look, you got to, a lot of emails are read on mobile. So your email should be mobile optimized. There's the preview text that folks are going to see on that email before they open it. And if the first thing that they see is, I hope this email finds you well, most times they're probably not even going to open that email. They're just going to delete it. Or there's a very good chance it doesn't even get into the inbox in the first place. Okay. So the second line of this email, the second section of this email is all about this person, their company, and what they do. Okay. And then the following line hasn't added any value at all. And then it closes with sort of an assumptive line after the, call to action. So the number one thing in this email that I see as a problem is the email is mostly about this company and it hasn't added any value. And good chance this email never even gets to the inbox or read. Okay. So here, now I wrote these rewrites based on not knowing necessarily who I'm sending them to. So some of them are fairly general, but you'll notice that this rewrite, number one, is a lot shorter. Okay. And it opens with a question: ready to leave your competitors in the dust. At FuelFell, we have revolutionized sales performance technology to help your brokerage shine. So it's a combination of a little bit about what FuelFell does, as well as highlighting them as well, not making it all about me and what my company does. We help you stand out to your client by enabling your agents and providing best possible buying experience. So what I did here is I really tried to make that next line about them. So if you think about an email in general, right, you want to have an opening line that sort of catches their attention. And the goal of an email, of each line of the email, is you really want them to read the next line. And so that's why you have these spaces here. That's why you break it up. And then I like to sum it up with a very soft call to action. A lot of people write emails where their only goal is to get a call or to book a meeting. Or in some cases, they're even sending a calendar link, which we'll get into in some of the tips and such when we wrap this up. But your main goal of an email is just to get a conversation started or to get a reply, right? So that's why I like to use call to actions like this one here, where it says, "Would you be open to a quick chat next week to learn more how we did this?" Right? So I'm just asking them a question. It's a little bit softer. It's not so straight to the point. With the call to action, and it leaves it open. And so that is the rewrite for the first one. And now we have another email. So this is the original email here. As a fellow family lawyer, we know the administrative burden and loss of billable time that comes with filtering, allocating, and gathering background information from potential clients. It's crucial to ensure that your initial consultation goes smoothly. So kind of lengthy, but we'll get into that. That's why firms like Name and Name have turned to Company to impress potential clients and gather client information with personalized and educational intake process. Company not only leaves a great impression, it enhances your initial consultations. Clients are more focused and lawyers are better prepared, interested in learning more. All right, so let's look at the teardown. Okay. So this is very assumptive and a little bit deceiving here. Also could be much shorter. The next chunk there, it's not even clear necessarily what they do. It's kind of vague. And the end there is just extra word vomit. And then I don't hate the call to action, interested in learning more. I actually think that's not a bad call to action. So I wouldn't even necessarily change that too much. But the rest of the entire email, one of the biggest things is read these emails. When you're writing these emails, read them out loud to yourself. Reading your emails out loud to yourself, you could see when I was reading that email, you can ask yourself, is this something that I would reply to? And a lot of times you'll find that there's a lot of fluff that you can cut. It comes off too salesy, too spammy, or in this case, like a big just bunch of word vomit. All right, so let's look at the rewrite. Very, very big difference, right? From the original version here to the rewrite. So this one here, subject line, enhance your practice. So I like to stick to like 2 to 3 word subject lines. Hey, first time, I know that a lawyer's most valuable asset is their time, right? So if you think about the person that you're writing to, you know that lawyers value their time significantly. So that's why I started that email this way. We help firms like, and then I wanted to insert a competitor name there, minimize admin and maximize the time that streamlines your client's intake, saving them valuable billable hours. Can I share a case study or 2 with you? So very light call to action, not even asking for their time. Very different than the call to action in the first rewrite, specifically because we're saying, hey, we know that you're a lawyer. We know that your time is extremely valuable. We have a solution that can help you save time. And it would make no sense to then ask for some of their time as the call to action, which is why I went with that call to action in this specific email. All right. Let's look at the next one. This is the original version of this email. PickThrive is also a marketing platform. Hello, contact, first name. At PickThrive, we aren't only a premium photo and video platform, we offer outstanding user-generated marketing benefits for your business too. PickThrive increased TripAdvisor's review by 35% in one season for Royal George Rafting and Zipline and helped Katana Cascades become the #1 ranked rafting operator on TripAdvisor in New Zealand. We offer your guests a chance to click directly to Google and TripAdvisor reviews as soon as they view their photo or video albums on your custom branded page. And we also store your clips for 3 years so that your marketing or photo team can have direct access. I'd love to have a chat with you about ways that PickThrive could help your business to stretch your marketing dollars and maximize guest satisfaction. All right, there's a lot to unpack there. So, number one, I don't even know why. I don't even know why this is the first line in the email, right? And the next one here, the email is all about them, and it's way too long. I mean, that whole email is just that whole 3 sections, 1, 2, 3 paragraphs there. The email is all about them and very long. The call to action is also long, and it's really not even clear. I'd love to have a chat with you about the ways PickThrive can drive your business to stretch marketing and maximize. So very long call to action, not even clear there. But chances are, based on this email, I would imagine that anybody receiving this probably wouldn't even make it through the whole email to get to the call to action anyway. So probably doesn't matter much. So the rewrite, very short, sweet, enhance your practice. Oh, whoops. Uh-oh, we got the wrong. Give me 1 second. I think I got the wrong email here. I'm not sure what happened here. Give me 1 second to fix this. All right. Okay, let's see here. Somehow I got the wrong email in here.
No worries, Collin.
All right, there we go.
Just wanted to jump in to fill the silence there with a quick announcement. But let's move on. Everything good?
Yep.
All right, let's move on.
All right. There we go. Sorry about that, guys. All right, so there we go. All right, so here, subject line, 2-word subject line, boost reviews. Hey, first name, want better marketing? PickThrive can help. We store your clips for 3 years so your team can access them easily and guests can see Google and TripAdvisor reviews on your page. Can I show you how we increase TripAdvisor's reviews by 35% with PickThrive? So there's really, 4 sections to an email. 5, I guess, if you include the subject line, right? So subject line, how we address them, which is a whole, I just kind of put, hey, first name on most of these. But even if you're, taking into consideration the people and their personality and things like that, there's different ways that we can address people, whether it's like, hey, hi, or hello, or just first name, which is something, we didn't even necessarily get into because I don't know who I'm sending these emails to. But I open it with a question, right? And told them PickThrive can help without telling them too much, right? The previous email was all about how PickThrive could help, which is way too much, right? If we refer back to that for a second. And then I told them a little bit about what we do, but also right there, I'm also connecting it to how we can, help the guest experience and also with their team, right? So we store your clips for 3 years so your team can access them easily and guests can see Google and TripAdvisor reviews on your page. And then a very light call to action. Can I show you how we increase TripAdvisor reviews by 35% with PickThrive? So very light call to action, but also putting in there a little bit of proof as well, rather than leading with that. Integrating that proof into the call to action, I've seen to be very effective as well. All right. So next we've got another email here. Hi, name. Congrats on the new position at company name. Hope you're working hard whilst having a bit of fun. I reached out because I've noticed company name on the lookout for Salesforce experts, including Salesforce admins, developers, and business analysts. As a full-service Salesforce partner with a team of 600 plus Salesforce experts and 12 years on the market, we can help you anytime if you need specific Salesforce resources or additional Salesforce expertise. Open to learning more. All right. So the first line isn't terrible. It's personalized a little bit. It doesn't seem like super genuine because, I mean, frankly, we all know how easy it is to find, when people are at a new job. As a data point, this second line is really just needs to, there's just too much fat there. We could just cut that. And then the last line is a little bit too salesy. Again, not a terrible call to action on this one, so I didn't put anything there. But if we look at the rewrite, subject line, alleviate headaches. That's, something that can catch people's attention, people can relate to. Congratulations on your new role at company name. So I still left that, but I cut some of the fat that they had. I'm sure there's a lot to be overwhelmed by considering you have open roles for Salesforce admins, developers, and business analysts. Okay, so I'm trying to have a little bit of empathy here in this message where I'm saying, okay, I know that they're in a new role. They have all these open roles. And so then I'm going to inject a little bit of a value prop here. We have over 12 years of experience providing Salesforce solutions that can help alleviate some of this burden for you. Would it be worth exploring how we've helped companies like, and then insert competitor name? So we all know that when people are in new roles, they typically make a lot of decisions in the first 6 months, but you also want to have a little bit of empathy when that's your approach that, hey, they probably have a lot going on. So I called that out specifically and then wrapped it up with a really light CTA. All right. So final, I'm going to share just a few tips, things to consider, in cold emails, specifically when writing your email or even just in your setup. There's probably a lot of other things that I could have added, but I wanted to just highlight some of the most important things. Make sure you have a proper tech setup, right? So that means like not using your primary domain. That means having your proper like SPF and DKIM records all set up, scaling the volume that you're sending with, warming those domains up. There's a lot that we can unpack in the tech setup. There's lots of tools, obviously, like Reply that can help you out with these things. Make sure that you have an updated list, right? So good validated data. You don't want a lot of bounces. You don't want to go in a lot of spam. That's all going to help hurt your deliverability over time. Spend more time on the data before you just start sending, right? So have really good segmented lists with validated emails, and that's going to help you overall. Personalize your messages based on the data. Try to use 2 to 3 word subject lines and keep your emails around 75 words. No links or attachments in those emails. Space out your sends, right? So you don't want to send a bunch all at the same time. That's going to hurt you. And then always review your data and your performance and always be looking to optimize your emails. Those are a few things that I feel are some of the most important things to call out. But I know that we have a little bit more time, so we can definitely open it up for some questions.
All right. Thanks, Collin. Super interesting. I'm going to start. Yeah, we have compiled quite a few questions from this session and some of the previous ones that haven't been answered because we didn't have enough time. But I think they fit nicely into the email breakdown kind of conversation. So in one of our previous sessions, Nick from Close brought up this point that, people rarely will answer the first email, which is debatable, again, even according to the speakers. But with that in mind, in your personal opinion, would it, and this was also a question from the audience, would you recommend excluding an explicit ask, which I'm assuming like a hard type of a CTA in the first touch of an email in favor of putting it into some of the follow-ups?
So I wouldn't say so. My take on that is that you should still include a CTA in the first email. Now, are you always going to get a reply on the first email? No, but sometimes you do. It depends. Depends on. It's not out of the question, and it happens if your first email is good. And so the problem is a lot of people send a really good first email, and then their emails that follow the second email typically are very basic, right? Like just bumping it, following up, any thoughts, a lot of these emails that don't really add any additional context or value also are not going to yield good replies. So I'm in favor of having a call to action in the first email. I wouldn't not include a call to action in the first email. But again, a soft call to action, right? Not like a hard, asking for 15 minutes on Wednesday, but more like, hey, can I share a case study? Are you open to learning more? Can I show you how we've done this? Right? A lot of people's call to actions are more hard CTAs, where soft CTAs are going to yield more replies.
Okay, thank you. The other one was about AI, and I don't think you've mentioned any kind of AI, generative AI tactics in creating these cold emails, because ultimately it's about rewriting them and making them look better. But what's your stance on trusting AI, whether it's ChatGPT based solutions, Reply being one of them, quick plug, wink wink, but a more kind of advanced sales specific AI, and how much would you trust AI, artificial intelligence, to write your cold emails for you, and versus always staying on top? Because we're talking to both camps at this time here at Reply. We're talking to people that are like, I'm never ever, because what's the word? They're too controlling. Like, this is my livelihood depends on the messaging that I'm putting out. So I'm going to continue doing this myself because I know my job better. Versus, AI is the future, and those who are not following are going to be left behind, which is also a very common sentiment lately. So what's your opinion?
Yeah, I would say I fall more on the latter, where if you're not leveraging AI, I mean, you're going to get left in the dust. I think that the problem is most people don't know how to use AI well, meaning they don't know how to build up enough context. Like, you can't just say, write me a good email, right? Based on this value prop to this person, right? It needs a lot more context to come up with something good. And that takes a little bit of time. But if you put in the time, it's worth it. And then you start to learn what's a good prompt versus not a so good prompt. And you can start to see the iterations that come out from AI. I mean, I think that, even if you spend the time to build up the context of, who it is that you're targeting and everything that you know about that person, maybe it's what technologies they're using, what personality type they are, how long they've been in their role, maybe some pain around some open job roles. Like, these are all things that you can use to build up context to write a good email. And even when you use all of that and spend the time to build that up to then, insert the value proposition and get an email as the output, it still might not be perfect, right? So you still may want to make some, changes and fine tuning it a little bit to getting where it is. But ultimately you can do it a lot faster, right? It doesn't have to be like human versus AI, right? The combination of, the thing that AI doesn't have is like your human experiences or context, right? And an example of that would be like, if I'm reaching out to somebody who's, that went to the same college as me or has some mutual connections, or, maybe they worked at a company that I used to work at, or things like that. Like, AI can't help you build that context. but the combination of the two can be very powerful. I don't think it needs to be like one or the other.
Exactly. You know what? Yeah, the phrase that I heard recently, and I might be kind of paraphrasing, is AI is not going to take your job, but people who know how to use it will, which is, I think, is pretty true in the sales industry.
I saw that recently too, and
Yeah.
and I think that for anybody who's a little bit skeptical at that point, maybe that'll resonate with them a little bit.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I guess one of the questions that caught my attention was, so you talked about a lot of these specific examples, and obviously, good performing cold email is never about, hey, use this specifically. So I wanted to ask if you have maybe your own kind of formula for, let's say, icebreakers, or either subject lines or the first sentence in the email. Do you have any sort of kind of approach to what you want that icebreaker to be? Meaning, is it just simply, stay within X amount of words, like Vlad was just mentioning in the previous session, or do you have some kind of approach of, okay, we want to mention this, this, and this, but not make it longer than this, and that sort of thing? Do you have any kind of for yourself, even maybe for your own campaigns personally?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough question to answer because everybody wants that perfect opening line, right? That perfect icebreaker that's going to, look good in the preview and get them to open and read the email, right? But the challenge is a couple of things. Most people don't do enough work on the data side of having enough information about the people before they reach out and even send the email. And that's where a lot of people fall short. So there is no like silver bullet quick answer of like, hey, your icebreaker should be this amount of words, or should, capture this, or anything like that. It's more about having like, we build outbound programs for, teams. And so a lot of the work goes into like the strategy and the data before we even start to dive into like the messaging. Right. And so, the data piece of knowing as much about these people, like triggers, job openings, funding rounds, things that you can find about them, personal research, technographics, personality insights, personalization from socials, news, Google, website, 10Ks, identifying any sort of pain points that those particular people have. Once you have all that information on a specific person, which is different for everybody, right? A lot of people are personalizing their messages based on a specific ICP or a persona, where you can actually personalize at scale if you use tools that are available today, maybe a little bit of manual research, on the front end before you ever even build any messaging and put something in sequence. I know that's like kind of a long-winded answer, but that's how we approach things. I know it's a little bit different than how a lot of people are thinking about outbound today.
No, absolutely. And yeah, from what I'm getting, this again, something we started this event with is personalization is key now. And you are talking about some of the tools that are available today, and a lot of people are already talking about tomorrow. And obviously, Reply being one of the automation platforms is going to be probably one of the first to go into hyper personalization at scale. I'll just do a quick, what's it called? Just a hint on what's coming in our AI features, but that's definitely coming. So we're trying to kind of hit that balance between large volume, and large volume may mean different numbers for you, obviously, depending on who you are and what you're selling and who you're targeting and all of that. But big volumes versus hyper personalization. So that's again with the introduction of tools like GPT-3 and ChatGPT. I would say here's what I suggest. I'm gonna kind of announce one of our, in our opinion, one of the interesting questions, because we had this little just a reward for the most interesting question posted in our chats. And I'm curious what your opinion on this is, because we haven't brought this question up in the previous sections. How much AI generated emails, how much AI generated content do you think is helpful in the context of an early SaaS startup to target early adopters, which is, again, we're talking about, scale versus personalization. So in this case, we're probably talking about scale. My assumption is because, early adopters, you want to get as many people in the door as possible as an early startup. So how much, in your opinion, should companies rely on AI to scale that?
So if I'm understanding the question correctly, how important is it to use AI generated content for scaling to get your first early adopters?
I would say, yeah. How much should you rely even on it? So should you rely on it at all? And if so, kind of to what extent you want to introduce those, AI generated snippets, let's say in the first step email.
I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't, right? I mean, anything that's going to help you do research on companies and prospects faster. And, I mean, it's kind of why would you not use technology, right? Because if you use AI, you can do things faster and more efficiently than doing them manually, right? And I don't know why you wouldn't. I mean, you may not want to rely on it completely, but I think over time, I think a lot of times when people have these types of questions, it usually tells me that they don't have a ton of experience using it. Because if you had more experience using it, you would actually start to understand how powerful it is. And then you would start to rely on it even more and get more comfortable and more confident with using it. So typically when people have those types of questions, usually means they don't have a lot of experience. I was a little bit skeptical of some things at first myself, but once I started using it more, then I became more comfortable relying on it more.
Yeah, you kind of reiterated my kind of opinion on that as well, which is, if you're a startup, if you're new to this, if you're maybe like a technical founder who's never done any sales, but you have to get your first early adopters, you have to get some initial traction. By all means, you can use as much AI as possible, because you have to use something, and sending a good well thought out AI generated sales email. So don't go directly to ChatGPT, because it's gonna give you not so very good results, but use some tailored solutions based on ChatGPT in order to as a result to get something that's more usable in the context of, again, these practices that we have been covering, which is length, value proposition, call to action, just overall those best practices that we have seen examples of today, and use that as opposed to starting out with, hey, I noticed your whatever on LinkedIn. Here's why I want to reach out, and here's why we are so great. Never talk about how great we are, and always talk about what's in it for you. It's my personal opinion, but yeah, I guess that's a perfect kind of wrap for this session. Thanks, Collin. I do appreciate you jumping in and giving us some good examples and some lessons on what to keep in mind and take note of when writing cold emails. Anything you would want to end with? Maybe plug a Leadium or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think thanks for having me. Always enjoy coming on these sessions. At Leadium, we have a podcast for anybody who wants to learn more. We drop daily sales content. They can check it out. Sales transformation on all your favorite podcast apps and YouTube and you name it. That's a good place to get some things. And then we also have a book coming out soon, which you can be on the lookout for, called Outbound Sales Simplified.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Collin, again. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, thanks.
Okay, everybody. So we're wrapping up. Thank you, everybody who joined us today, sticking until the end. Like we announced, we will be sending the replay links for this, along with some extra resources and probably some links to the some of the presentations that were given during this webinar. We will, as I promised, we will be reaching out to those people who were sharing the links to this event on LinkedIn with a couple of Amazon gift cards. So thanks for those who took part in that. And I guess that's it. I really hope that you guys enjoyed the event, and we hope to see you at our next one soon. Thank you very much.